Straight men of Reddit, what instantly makes a woman unattractive? When women say I'm a bitch, it's just who I am. Or it takes a special man to handle me. Like you're grown. Handle damned self. Red flags all around. If you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best is probably the worst mindset to come across in a person. Or more low-key, they brag about not having female friends as if that's a personality trait. What it really means is that the only people who will put up with them are people who hope to bang them. Not being self-aware. Meaning not admitting when she's wrong and getting mad until you apologize even though it's her fault. Looks back at my previous relationship, oh that makes so much sense. Dude got a revelation in askreddit. Where else do you get your revelations? Church? Sometimes. Also in friendships, community, reading, introspection, and creative endeavors. Hobby/interest shaming. Unless, of course, your hobbies and interests are interesting. Putting people down for what they enjoy is awful. Back in university I was interested in a roommate of an old high school friend, and during one of the first times we hung out as just the two of us we were talking while making dinner together. Some of the questions she asked led to me mentioning about how I was a pretty competitive Smash Bros. Melee player. She asked some questions about it, and before I knew it I was going pretty in-depth about the game. A cooking-related timer went off which made me realize I had been talking about the game for at least 10 minutes. I apologized for talking her ear off about something she had no clue about or personal interest in, but she told me she could tell by how emphatically I was speaking that it was a big hobby of mine, and that if something was important to me she wanted to hear all about it, and on top of that it made her happy I was sharing it with her. For a variety of reasons nothing ever happened romantically between us, but this was one of the first things that made me realize how great a person she was. We became pretty close friends and kept in contact after university for a few years before drifting apart. I still remember how it felt to have someone validate a fairly obscure hobby of mine, and ever since I've done my best to be positive and actively engage with people whenever they're talking about their own interests. People need that. Being addicted to heroin or meth. At least you know they don't have a fear of long-term commitments. There's a silver lining to everything. She'll snort that too. Or pawn it. Being mean to animals. This one's timeless. I've read about some kind of a survey from the 19th century on what kind of characteristics young Estonian farmers were looking for in potential wife candidates, and kindness to animals was right at the top, kindness to children was there as well, the rest I can't remember. That's because animals and children are relatively helpless. Someone who would be cruel to them but kind to you is only kind to you because they fear the consequences of showing their true nature. The most experienced hunters tell you, the day you don't feel remorse for an animal you kill, is the day you stop hunting. I don't think it's that much different from what makes men unattractive. Poor hygiene, rude personality, arrogance, shallowness. Rudeness is my number one turn-off for anyone, especially on first encounters. It really shows someone's true character. Where does hygiene rank? Muskie_queef. Low. My guess is low. Well, at least halfway down. Honestly, if you have to decide everything for her. Like WTF, I want your input in things and get to know you. If you just tag along and don't even make any comments is pretty boring. I had a boyfriend like that. Could never make a decision, it was always I'm good with whatever. Drove me absolutely nuts. He was also super boring. I thought at first he was just reserved and that's why I struggled to get to know him, then I found out that there just wasn't much there to know. I haven't had this with a partner or someone I'm dating, although I have experienced this with people in my day-to-day life. Thinking they're shy or maybe rude, then you come to realize that they don't have much in the way of a personality. Being rude or mean unprompted to anyone. Even more so towards staff. People like that are douches. Karens. Came here to say this. A lack of curiosity. If she can't hold a conversation, then any hope for a date goes belly up. Yes, similarly to lacking any real passion. Which passions do you consider real? You can be passionate for anything, but a person needs to have something they like, What excites you? What topic can you talk about in depth and in detail? A person with zero passions has no hobbies, no interests, and has nothing to talk about or share. Girls that put absolutely no effort into relationship, just expecting from me to entertain her and organize everything, no thanks. And don't forget paying. I'm absolutely positive not all women or relationships are like this, but it's this attitude that you described that puts me off to dating. Just don't want to get tangled in that. Passive aggressiveness. This should be higher in the comments. It's the instant turn down for me too. And what exactly do you mean by that? Are you trying to say something about me? Spit it out, I won't judge. Sandwich. Narcissism. Took me way too long to get away from a girl who truly was about herself. I spoke to her briefly last week. I'd had a horrendous previous week, my worst in possibly a year, and the minute I mentioned that, she just told me how bad things are going for her. CBA. It never ended, either. Her life was always misery and she never did anything to sort it. She also put me down a lot, and you don't realize how detrimental that is till you get away. It's amazing cause on the face of it everyone thinks she's lovely. It's amazing cause on the face of it everyone thinks she's lovely. They always come off that way, especially when they're quirky and funny. That says a lot about her. She surely has a low self-esteem. A selfish, abusive or otherwise shitty attitude. I don't care how physically gorgeous a woman is, if she treats me or others like dirt, my sexual interest in her will be 6 feet under the earth. Acting like an entitled brat and thinking it's confidence. When they litter with no fucks given is the worst and quickest way to make me lose pretty much all respect/attraction. When they have family members that taught them to be rude AF to staff when they don't get their way and say I'm just asserting myself. Lol, my mom has Karen-esque qualities and tried to get me to assert myself more. Sorry mother, my social anxiety overpowers any Karen skills you'll try to teach me. First time I hear the word princess in relation to them, I'm gone in 60 seconds. If they're rude to customer service workers. Sir, this is Wendy's. Okay, but you have to make my food. I wanna speak to your manager if you don't. Well then you're in luck. I have a special sandwich here for you, it definitely doesn't have spit in it, I swear, just don't take the bun off. Yes, and retail. Not to mention waiters, like WTF, do you like the taste of spit? Her boyfriend. Take my comment of praise, and then pretend it's a gold. Outstanding, sir. I'm sure your wife's boyfriend is a cool dude. You might even have some things on common. Like being in a relationship with a horrible woman. At the same time. Usually the restraining order. Or the court-ordered ankle bracelet. Attacking other women for how they look. I had an ex who hated skinny women. She wasn't big, but she wasn't skinny. I would say she was in between. One night we went out and she was complaining about those skinny bitches over there. They didn't say anything to her or about her, they just existed in the same room and were having fun. Yeah, I think she was insecure and envied them or something. People that focus too much on that stuff can be irritating for sure. 100% on point. She was always concerned that I would leave her for a skinny woman. So you left her for a bigger woman, right? Not re-racking your damn weights. I was at a gym with maybe 3 other guys. This lady gets done squatting. She is huffing and bagging around the weights. Then she yells all these guys around and none help to offer to rack my weights. Bunch of pussies. This huge dude from across the gym in a booming voice yells, bitch, rack your own damn weights. She did and I never saw her at the gym again. Edit, I know this reads like a that happens story where everyone claps. But it was really uncomfortable. It was a weird feeling the rest of the time there that day. Maybe because it was only a few people there. The dude who yelled, it looked like he did stuff like that all the time. Fuck that. You have no business lifting weight if you can't rack it. If you can't rack your own weights, maybe try lifting smaller weights? Social media addiction. Yep. having to make space for me between her social media updates and alerts and messenger dings. Nah, I'm not big on being second place to your phone. I have been known to pay my server for my meal and hers, and this is for her cab fare home, and duck out the restaurant side door. And she'd barely notice for a half hour, according to the server, when I'd go back the next day to find out what reaction she'd had. You understand that you are taking so much splash damage with this comment? It's basically just insulting yourself? Chewing with their mouth open. Someone that makes people feel small for fun. Shit personality. Age of 50 10/10. Fun fact, beauty only lasts 10 seconds and competence is the last thing we noticed in / on October 10th people. Good thing I only last 10 seconds as well. I hear people say this a lot, and I don't get it. It makes me not want to date you, but I'm definitely still attracted to you lol. Lack of respect and compassion. Definitely.